go. We are ready to go.
All right, let's start. Yeah, topic of today is how to check availability of SSH and other services. And yeah, there's a couple tickets that led to this topic being brought up. So I thought it'd be nice for a workshop. And I think, did I see this correctly? We have Wayne here. So if you would like to bring up your case rather than my bringing it up, since we were discussing needles checking SSH server availability and such, and that's kind of your topic.
Hi, I'm here, but
Hi.
but I don't think this workshop is specific to my ticket, right? It's a general topic, right?
Yes, it's
Well,
just an example.
Okay.
Yeah, it's one of the cases, but I think
Okay.
yours is very relevant to the topic, so you're free to bring it up.
Okay. Firstly, the ticket number is the progress ticket number is 107470. So it's about SSHD's server started needle matching failure. So yeah, so which happened on IPMI SOL console. So yeah, so on OpenQA, so the active and focused screen is on the IPMI SOL console. So so the test needs to detect the SSHD server started needle firstly to make sure that SSHD server service is already up and running. Then it can switch to SSH console, root SSH or something else. But anyway, you can connect via SSH. So, but unfortunately, the test kept failing on detecting the needle. So yeah, so there's no way for the test to know whether the SSH service is already up and running. So yeah, so maybe it have to jump in to trying to connecting to the SSH service very blindly. So I opened the ticket and Chris already gave me some suggestions. He also suggested that yes, we can do some kind of checking. For example, the availability of the SSH service and yeah, that's why currently we are here in this workshop. So also today I'm here. I'm mainly here to listen, to be enlightened, to collect everyone else idea how this can be done better. For example, if the test has to skip the needle matching step, just jump into trying to connecting to SSH, straight away. So how this can be done more gracefully? That's all. Thank you.
Yeah, I think this all sounds very, very good. I think what we can do here is compare the different backends, compare the different architectures, how we do it there, and maybe we find the best practice from the experiences from all of you guys as test experts. And then we can see which approaches maybe should be replaced by a different one. So, yeah, Imstar, go on.
Yeah, just wondering, looking at the screen which you have shared at the moment, I mean, one could just create a needle with starting SSH daemon ... OK, which is shown on the screen there. At the one on the right screen, just scroll down.
Yeah,
bottom of the screen, it
right.
says SSH server OK.
Wait,
So
let
basically
me
matching the
check
needle on that
for,
would probably help it.
so I can show you what a successful case looks like, because basically you can see here that is what is being done.
Right, that's pretty much what I was expecting.
Yeah.
Probably the keygen doesn't have to be inside of the needle match. So why doesn't the one that doesn't work anymore not match that anymore?
Let me check. This SSH server started, and here, wait. Yeah. We do find the SSH daemon, then it fails later. That's again SSH, but I think different SSH connection. And here, coming back to the first link, we did not find the needle with tag SSH server start here on that screen. Well, that is a black screen, right? That's understandable. I think I don't know. Oh, here it is. Wait, it was there. But in this step, we are not expecting it yet. So what we see here is that we are expecting grub, but grub is not there or not there anymore, or the Pixie boot menu. If I'm comparing that to here, so that's the SSH server. Text login root. I'm confused. That's text login root, and then afterwards we wait for the boot menu. And here we also wait for the boot menu.
We're past the boot menu there, right? There was a login already visible on the previous needle.
But the good case also never successfully detects
Like
the
there,
boot
you can
menu.
see the login is visible.
Login is visible, and then we reboot or something? I don't know, but what I'm wondering is about, we are looking for the boot menu and we don't find it, and then we don't care about it because we find the SSH server, and then we are good and we are proceeding. And in a bad case, we are also looking for the boot menu. We don't find it, and I think it's a race condition, because what we end up with is this screen, which looks a bit weird, but it's basically the installer image starting up. Is that before or after that SSH server should be there? I think it's before, right? Right. So to me, it looks like the following, that the installer looks different, and maybe the SSH server is there, maybe it is not. We don't see it on the screen.
Can we pinpoint what's causing this message? Is it the installer logging as it starts up, or is it simply interfering with the console there?
Honestly, I don't clearly remember. So who remembers? Is that from the installer during boot up until it's waiting for the user to continue its installation?
I do know. Yeah, I do know. Yeah, why this kind of screen just showed up. I mean, this the messy one. Yeah, there are too many. Yeah, there it. Yeah, the boot up process should just end at the, I think the previous screen. Yeah, could you have moved back to the previous screen, the previous screenshot? Yeah,
that one.
Yeah, the correct behavior. Yeah, the boot up process should just end up here or even earlier. Just around the SHD server startup step. Yeah. It should not go further into that.
So is it a bug? Is it a product regression?
I don't think so, or to be precise, I'm not quite sure. Yeah, but currently it does not look like a product to me.
Right.
But because the pictures, the functionality, it looks good. It can finally up and running, so I cannot say it's a bug.
Yeah, right. But the original question is how to know that SSH cannot be reached or something. I guess in this mode, what we normally expect is, as a human user, I would see like starting okay, and then it outputs the IP address. So, if I see that on the screen, then I would go to, I don't know, my notebook next to the machine and then say like, okay, I can now log in over SSH to this address and then continue the installation, right? That would be the workflow.
The daemon OK should just indicates the SSH server is already up and running.
Right. So my question would be, do people think, so Dominic, you said basically suggested what we already do. My question would be, is there a better way? Does our experience from other backends tell us, yeah, the needle check isn't the best way because there's something else that we could do here? Like, compare that to everybody. If you compare that to your own test cases, which you have somewhere, or to other backends, maybe, what would you say?
Yes, if I have to skip the needle matching, but at the same time, I will still be on this screen. The current, the active and the focus screen is still the IPMI SOL console, not the SSH one, or So what's the better way to check the vulnerability?
Should we read the IPMI console as a serial text terminal and detect there that SSH is running? Is that a better approach? I would say it's at least an approach that is also used somewhere. For example, let me compare that to the S390 ZVM cases. In fails shouldn't concern us because that's at a later step. So for the people that are not that aware of these cases, so this is what we do. We start an X3270 terminal window. Now, a slight challenge to the audience. Where is that application running? Where is it running? Is it on the worker? Is it on an intermediate jump host? Is it on the ZVM instance that we want to control? Is it on the OpenGL Web UI, or is it somewhere else? Anybody wants to make a guess? Come on, guys, be brave. Just make a guess. So, a jump host? No, there's actually no jump host. So what you see here in the background, this is where the mouse cursor comes from. You see that mouse cursor? It's an XVNC instance on the worker. So we start a VNC server, which is also an X server, on the worker. I hope I'm getting that right. So we start that X3270 on the OpenQA worker as an application, showing up in that X server, which we can connect to from the test. So the VNC connection in that case, compared to normal QEMU, does not go to the QEMU instance, but to the local worker XVNC instance. And from there on, we run this application, and then we connect to a ZVM instance. That you can see on top because there's this IP address to be connected to the ZVM instance. So it's a, like a custom IBM S390 way to connect there. And says welcome to Linux 146. So that's the remote machine. And then what we do in these multiple steps where we add these boot parameters, we also, you see that here, we also add the parameter SSH. And then we go on, boot the machine, and basically we need to do the same step. We need to start the installation and then hope that it will be accessible over SSH before we can, switch from this screen to the next one. And now, the second challenge that I give to you, how is the application called that you see running here? What's the application that provides this console?
I would guess you mean VNC?
Right, so what we see is VNC. So this is not like just text forwarded, that's correct. The question is it, in the case of QEMU, what we would expect at that step would be VNC to a TTY on the QEMU instance, right? Where on QEMU, you would press something like Control-Alt-F7, Control-Alt-F1, and you would end up with a TTY, which is provided by the Linux kernel. And within the TTY, there's a process which for us is agetty. And agetty is providing this login prompt. It asks you for username and password. Then you log in, and then you're in a bash session. What is the application running here? It's not agetty. Where are the S390 test experts? Okay, so I'm happy to learn that I'm apparently also an expert here. So I give you a little hint. Yes, it looks very much like SSH. I mean, it says could not create validMD SSH, and then it says permanently added that. This is what you get when you connect to a machine the first time, so it's a good guess. Where do you type the command SSH? You do that in a local application. The application is called Xterm console. It's a really funny invention. It's an Xterm. Xterm is like a graphical terminal window, but Xterm console is an Xterm that was tweaked to look like, resembling exactly what a TTY on a physical machine or in a QEMU instance would look like. But this mouse cursor gives it away that, you wouldn't see that on a TTY. If on your computer you press Control-Alt-F1, you don't see the mouse cursor, right? Because you don't have an X server. We are still in the very same XVNC server, which is running on the worker. We call Xterm console in there, which is like a full screen terminal. So it's full screen window. We type in SSH to connect to the remote machine. And now there's one part which I want to check is, what's the synchronization point to say, okay, from here we go to, we know that the machine should be reachable. You can see that there is only a single needle check in the very beginning. We do a very simple needle check here first to take a log on ZVM, and then we do all these things. You can see that screenshot. But I'm checking if there's any like candidate needle or tags showing up. Pretty sure there's none. So there's none, right? And the only next screenshot check is then for the password prompt of the remote SSH. So we never check for something like SSH is reachable in the case of S390 ZVM. Now I go into the log, looking for SSH. So this is the output from X3270 in, like, you know, text machine readable form. It's repeated sometimes, and I'm looking where next we do see any mention, because I'm sure, right, there we go. You see there is some kind of regex check. Say, as soon as the text run just.ssh shows up, then we switch to the other console, which is the invoking the SSH. You see, that's the very same message we see in the case of IPMI. Starting SSH daemon OK, and then login using that. But we never check that with a needle. And after we found that, this is when we call select console on the IUCVcon. So that's effectively creating a new terminal after we found the string. I'm not saying this approach is better, it's just different. Any of you guys have other examples that you can share, or your opinions, like, is that better? Is it worse? How is it comparable? What do you think? I mean, everything is possible with OpenGA, we can see that. So Chris, if no one else is answering, I have to resort to you. I know that you are like one of the lesser experienced test writers, like, right? The others are, but you have this good first-time impression from looking into the issue and then learning about that. So what do you think?
So I found it difficult to think of an approach using the needles that feels solid in that sense.
Right.
Because so one issue is that the output can appear in different places, even if you know what you're looking for. And I think that generally makes it more difficult for OpenGA to match it in the needle.
Yeah.
Whereas if you can't find it in the log, it's generally either there or it isn't, right? Maybe you check too early, but you will find it. There's no false positives there, I think.
Yeah.
And it could be that maybe a different screen needs to be used, but I think it's probably difficult if we don't know exactly when, for instance, the installer actually starts up, and you know exactly what we're supposed to see from the boot process beforehand.
Bro, I guess, of course, it's an additional challenge if OpenQA is doing something for you and then you don't have the experience yourself. Like, you know, in the case of H390 or the same as for IPMI, I think it helps if you needed to do that manually once, because then you know, like, okay, I start this application. You see the same mouse cursor here, so that's an indication that we are doing more or less the very same. We have some kind of VNC server where we display that text, but in a graphical way. Okay, so you know this is like,
here it's a bit more so this looks to me a lot more obvious, right? Because you have the boot menu there.
yeah, right.
But
The point is, like, if you just see that screen, then again you have to ask you a question like, where does the screen come from? Is it like the remote machine, something intermediate? Is it GUI? Is that maybe on the worker? No, that's, I understand if it's hard for people to understand, to really follow the complete process. So the one suggestion which I have is for everybody to select, do it once manually, then you know from, you know, whatever you have as a usual desktop environment, which applications you start. Like, do you start with something like a VNC viewer, or do you start with something like a terminal window, an SSH client? And then what do you do to get from to this step, which is the very first challenge, and then afterwards, so this screen now, right? So the last one was here.
yeah, this is what I mean, which I find more difficult to know what exactly is going on, because there's a lot of different things happening.
Right. So I have some questions to you guys. You know, we are in the Tools team, we are the maintainers of OpenQA and the backend. What we are looking for primarily is how we can help you with improving the tooling. But secondary, of course, we would like to help you and to give you this room so that you can, among yourself with all the fellow test maintainers, find a good approach to say, like, okay, where can we improve the tests? So what do you guys have as ideas, both for how could the tooling improve, and second, how could we improve the test so that it's more clear, more resilient, maybe more performant, maybe easier to maintain?
Actually, yes, I'm always a little bit confused about and also curious about one thing about the needle matching mechanism. Yeah, and actually, I already asked the question in that ticket. So
right,
and Oliver also replied to me. Yeah, I don't know why the needle matching engine kept trying to match up an inferior one, not the latest captured one. So yeah, and Oliver just replied to me that yeah, it would be better for me to remove the old one, then it will, yeah, then the latest captured one will be picked up. Yeah.
yes, that's a good point. Often, I mean, the simple needle problems are the one where we say, okay, it looks different in before it matched, and you know, we just, let's say if there would be a needle showing up with 60% and now the font looks different, then yeah, you can just keep the old needles. You can create a new one to match 100%. The more tricky problems are the one where there actually is a needle match. Let's say if that one would actually match 100%, but it would be wrong because maybe it does not show like in IPM or login session. I mean, I think here everything is okay, but you know, maybe someone by mistake created a needle for text login root. Let me show an example, and would match on the login prompt like this. Okay, that would match, but it would not show the prompt because the prompt is the thing down there. Yeah, so that's a needle that you would need to remove, because otherwise it will always match wrongly, and there's no point in creating new needles if you don't fix it by deleting the old one. And another example would be if I match this, like Gonzo is one of the specific test machines, like the IPMI control tools. So yeah, we could create a needle like that. It would match sometimes when the test is actually running there. It wouldn't match in other cases. So it would be a bad needle, but it wouldn't cause such problems. We also plan to have a session about needling best practices. So yeah, we can also bring up examples there. That would be helpful.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm not sure whether my needle matching failure was caused by the same problem just you demonstrated. Yeah, but I understand what you said.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Okay, guys, any further ideas of how the tooling could be improved or how we could improve tests? Janis?
Man, I'm not sure, but the same thing that you do here with the screen shot, is it possible to do with wait serial? Replace the.
I think so, yes.
So I was thinking if the backend can provide some event-driven messages, for example, when it runs a login, connects to IPMI or something, send a message. I'm done with this.
Right.
The connection established or something, and then we can handle it in the on the test level.
Right. So I would say effectively await serial on a text terminal can do exactly that.
Once again, please.
I think wait serial on a text terminal already does exactly that. You say what's to wait for, just give it a timeout, and if there's a match within the timeout, then your code returns. I would not make that, let's say, more asynchronous to run in the background.
Not in all the cases. Because, for example, if you ask for a reboot or a logout, you lose this.
You should not lose this anymore. There was a change mainly driven by Peter Cervinka doing the right thing, is that when you reboot the machine, you shouldn't lose the IPMI control connection, because that is still there. The same as in the case of Chemo, the BNC connection to the Chemo machine is still there. It's just that the X server within the SUSE stops or something.
Okay, then I did it wrong because I have tried in the past. So yeah, maybe I need.
It depends on how far in the past you tried it the last time. So maybe the situation actually changed there. Yeah, you should cross-check again, but please, if you see problems, then we are interested in seeing how we can help there to make it more obvious and such.
Okay, we can be in contact for that. Okay.
Yeah, cool. Okay, others?
Could you have go back a little bit, go back to the previous example, the bootloader S3901?
Yeah, that yeah, in the log file.
So is this the example of what you mentioned, weight 0 from something, right?
Yes. Actually, what is done here is not weight serial, but it's actually a custom implementation for the S390 ZVM backend. The other backends should deliver that already. I might be wrong for the case of IPMI. I honestly don't know if we have the option to select an IPMI console text-based.
But the connection is there in technical terms, right? So you mean if it's not implemented on?
Yeah. So what we do is, so that it, you know, is more visual, is that we have it within a VNC connection. So from OS audience, at this point, we cannot use weight serial anymore on that specific console. You would, and because you cannot connect to the same IPMI serial over LAN connection from two clients, one would need to decide and switch that. So you would need to say, like, instead of the VNC based IPMI connection, I'm using a text terminal based one.
What if hypothetically we reverse it? So using the text-based connection, but then if needed, establish a graphical connection on the running system.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I guess it's possible already from testing point of view, but I don't know of examples where that is used right now. We need some help of you guys, experts, to tell me. Anybody has other examples which we could share? Doesn't seem like it. Okay, Chris, do you have other points, or should we cut it short today?
There was a, I guess, similar one proposed by Marius. I'm not sure if it's actually there, so maybe I would leave it for another one so you can discuss it.
Okay.
Well, I can paste the link and you see if it related enough, or we should rather have a separate one about it.
Hi, Oliver.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just comes to my mind that can we just solve the problem by just utilizing the pure programming. So you know there are many there are SSH modules and SSH classes in Pro. So we can just import SSH Pro module in our test module. Then we can check in background whether the remote machine opens the SSH port. So if it opens, the pro SSH module will return true. So then we can judge whether the return value is true. So if it is, we can connect to the remote machine via SSH. Yeah,
Yes.
but the drawback, but the drawback is also very obvious. Yeah, so you just didn't know what is going on in the background.
Right.
Yeah, just yeah.
I think you don't even need to use an SSH module because you can just ping the port. Okay. I think we are doing something similar in, again, one of the S390 cases. Let me see if I find that way. So that's what we have followed up with in the previous case. And here, that's that VM, where this is where we use wait serial. Yeah, I some years ago with Matthias Griesmeier, I did some port probing in one of these backends. I don't know it right now, with a simple for loop, and then we say try to probe the port, and I think also in some record info box and tell us about it. Maybe with netcut. I would need to look that up. Judging from what I have seen here and before, it looks like there is also at least suboptimal code, but probably also something. It could be a race condition. So, the problem should be actually fixed not by changing needle with the terminal, but why do we expect grub or the Pixie menu after a needle check, but then we don't care if it doesn't show up? That's what I don't know. And can take a look into this code. Where do we look for frog Pixie menu? Yeah, it could be here. Yeah, node check. Old code should be updated. Do we need to tell more? It could be this line, okay? And that's, to me, it's just showing a usual problem of check screen. I think this is wrong. It shouldn't be used, okay? You can use check screen in very seldom specific cases with a 0-second timeout or a low timeout. Here, I think it's wrong and it's causing more problem. Because no human would act like that. What you say is, please take a look on the screen for 20 minutes, which is, it's very long. For 20 minutes, you take a look and say, is this showing up or this or this or this? And you're not waiting for any other alternative. And afterwards, we do an assert screen for the very same thing again. So, okay, so likely it's not that specific line which we're in here, but it shows a problem because whenever there's anything else showing up, let's say in that case, maybe it's another case, the SSH server started screen would show up already, we wouldn't care because we are not looking for that alternative. We only abort after 20 minutes. And even after 20 minutes, we don't fail the test, but we continue. So if you do a problem in programming here, you hardly realize it will just waste 20 minutes. During that 20 minutes, maybe even the screen goes blank to save power or anything like that. And no human would do that because you as human, I trust you would be able to say, none of these show up, but the SSH server is already ready, so why not continue, right? Yeah, okay, it's in reboot and wait upgrade. So I guess it's
this module eventually calls the login console module. Yeah.
Yeah, it's reboot. It's using the base. Yeah, I wanted to find the code section. Okay, but it's in lib OpenSUSE base test. I think it's at. Oh, did I get that wrong? Oh, sorry, it's the base.
It's in test. It's in test folder.
Tests, and then
what auto test?
Oh, sorry, wrong. Virt auto test. And then in here. So there's also some text login route here. No. Okay.
The relevant one is the login console module, which is called at the last of the reboot
and this is looking for the SSHD server started.
You can just scroll down.
Login console.
Yeah, this one, yeah. Then scroll down. Continue to scroll down.
Right. Yeah, I'm reading here. So right, I would say the same problem here. Check screen. Right. I recommend against that use of check screen, just causing problems, and it can be related to that problem here. So I would say there's nothing wrong with checking needles in general. And then there's some sleep. So a lot of things can happen while the SSH server might be already there, which we look for here, right? So yeah, I suggest to improve the test module. That can help a lot. So instead of check screen, which already has multiple alternatives, why not use a third screen here and include all the other options that could happen. So this match hashtag is already correct. It's looking for that. So the question would be, what would be the next screen to expect? Yeah, and there is some, let's say, invisible handling here because we don't explicitly check what's on the screen. There's only a saving of a screenshot, and then we press down. You know, at this point we expect that we are here, but we don't know because this check screen is just an if. Within there, that's even more error prone. We just use check screen, and the return code is not checked, so we don't know if it matched. Could be that it matched, could be that it didn't match. And the same here. So
Yeah,
you're
but
basically
but I
pressing
think
down blindly.
yeah, but I think we check the return result by using the match as tag, right? The match
For
as tag.
yes, for Prague Pixie menu, yes, of course, that will only match if it actually matched and if it matched that one. But even then, you do a check screen afterwards without checking the return code. So after this bracket, you don't know where you are. Okay, it could be that you're in the boot menu. It could be that you're not, and so all the check screens which are not checking the return code are, well, make it simple, they're wrong. Okay. Okay, I can write a specific suggestion also in the ticket that you provided. We have looked into some.
So if I'm correct, so do you mean the number of match hashtag functions should be the same as the number of needles that checked in the check screen, right?
No, this is correct. This is fine. This is fine. Yeah, the check screen should check for the return, or it should be an assert screen. Okay. I can provide you a specific suggestion also later on outside of the workshop, or we can stay around. I would just like, because I think at this point we can conclude, and what should be the topic for next week?
Yeah, so you saw the link I pasted. I think that was suggested when we were discussing what topic to do this morning. So we could also consider that. We have, I think, a couple more suggestions in the wiki as well.
So you want me to decide?
I would leave it up to you. We have a few great topics coming up, I think.
Oh, we already planned. Right. I mean, fine. We already have planned a topic. So next week we will talk about how to report tickets, investigate issues, etc. We also investigated an issue right now, but this is also in particular about product bug reports. So think of reporting a bug in Bugzilla, how to improve that, and how to make sure that we're using a proper format. Okay, then it's good. Let's wrap it up.
Great.
Thank you until then.
Thank you. See you. Bye-bye.